what sets event volunteering apart? Events are highly temporal. So what does that mean? It means we have a specific start and a specific finish date. So it means it puts a premium on getting things right on the night and having good training in place for volunteers. Event organisations are what we call pulsating. So what does that mean? It means that they start off and have quite a core small group of staff and potentially volunteers throughout the year, but then they swell in size in the immediate lead up to the event and also in the shutdown period. So this also places a premium on ensuring that you properly train and put in place practices to manage your volunteers. For reoccurring events, so those annual events that happen year on year, it may be that you are recruiting new volunteers year after year. However, if you put in place good retention practices, hopefully you can seek to keep as many of your volunteers as possible and minimise the need to recruit new volunteers, particularly in larger numbers. And the question of, are there different motivations for event volunteering? Is this form of volunteering different, for example, to volunteering for emergency services or at a sporting club? Potentially yes, and we see this a lot for the larger scale events, so mega and major events, such as the Olympics or very high profile events. Those events are often seen to be once in a lifetime type of events, and they are very high profile. So often the research suggests that volunteers do cite those as reasons for volunteering in those very high profile settings. So potentially there are some differences that organisations should be aware of. Okay, we'll move on now to talk about some of the challenges of managing event volunteers and volunteers in general across an organisational life cycle. Here specifically we're talking about the life cycle of an event, so pre-event, during an event when the event is up and running, and also post-event. So this is a really holistic diagram to indicate those various stages and what are some of the management processes and practices that should be in place, and also some of the outcomes for volunteers throughout the planning phases of the event. So pre-event, certainly the focus is on recruitment, and once again having very realistic and pragmatic messages to potential volunteers around what they need to expect at your event, and what will be the opportunities, for example, to meet, if it's a sporting event, to meet athletes firsthand, for example. Often some of those expectations can be conveyed in the recruitment messaging, and if they aren't met actually within the event experience, then volunteers may potentially be dissatisfied with their volunteering experience. So really expectations then during event phase do translate to satisfaction or dissatisfaction. So if volunteers' expectations are met, they will generally tend to be more satisfied, and then that of course leads on to the post-event phase. So we'll generally see, and the research suggests, that if volunteers are of course satisfied, they will be more committed to an event, and then they'll be more likely to return and volunteer at that event, or else potentially to go on and volunteer for other events or other organisations. So if we think about this cycle as being a virtuous one, really there is the opportunity for event organisations and volunteer involving organisations to get it right from pre-event, during event and post-event.